How you guys doing? Here with another tutorial on Yu-Gi-Oh! Now this is going to be a long drawn out conversation, and I'm going to be giving you some ideas and some things you haven't thought about. The worst thing you can do in this game is go onto a site like All Experts, Pojo, and TCG Player, because they are full of net deckers, full of self-proclaimed experts that hasn't had any accomplishments in the game. And so, when you ask them to fix a deck, they aren't fixing a deck for you. They're just giving you a list of cards that they saw won at a top 16 someplace. They don't fix any decks. They're just net deckers themselves. So question, would it make sense to ask a net decker to fix your deck if he's going to net deck and give you a deck that he didn't make himself and probably hasn't even tested? And so you've got to learn how to be creative in this game and show some ingenuity. And what I mean by that is you've got to find a theme that's suitable for your playstyle. Now the way decks are being structured now, they're structured on speed and brute force. And there's a flaw to that deck and those type of archetypes. They fail to run defensive traps. Most people don't even main deck Mirror Force now for some reason. And people don't run defensive traps. And since so many people don't run defensive traps, that gives your opponent the luxury of overextending and playing reckless. And so, if you have some defensive traps, they're going to think twice before they commit to overextending. Now, one thing we know about Synchro Monsters, their attack ranges from 2,500 to 3,000. And there's a way you can stop those Synchro Monsters. A Synchro Monster can only be beneficial to you if you know your opponent is relying on a spell, a trap, or effect monster to stop the Synchro. Or the Synchro Monster is good when they know you have to play defensive. But one key I found to stopping the Synchro is called equip spell cards. I mean, like Mage Power, United We Stand, Acts of Despair, and Megamorph. Now, I found people say that it's a -1. The reason people use such terminology is because they read it from someplace and they're listening to people tell them how to play the game. Now, most monsters don't last on the field more than one turn. But if you have something strong enough with a strong enough attack, it'll last on the field for quite some time. And the reason why I incorporated a few equip cards to the Monarch deck that I'm running is because I'm running the macro deck. The graveyard gets shut down and it stops them from searching the graveyard and using cards like Malicious, Dark Armed, Light Sworn Strategies, and Zombie decks. Zombie decks are somewhat slow. You know, with the zombie deck, the first 2 or 3 turns, they're going to play their cards face down. You already know a zombie duelist, the cards they're going to have face down is a Pyramid Turtle, Goblin Zombie, and the next move they're going to do is search for Eel Blood, fill their graveyard up, and that's how you can stop them. You know what cards they're playing face down. And chances are the monster they're going to summon after that is going to have a 2,400 attack. Now, if you got a monster equipped with something ridiculously strong, they're going to think twice. They're not going to summon that Rukoki or the Eel Blood. They're going to summon another searcher until they can find a solution to getting that card off the field. That's why equip cards work because that's an element of the game that nobody strategizes for. The same as with the Light Sworn deck. Light Sworn decks can be tricky because you know if they're committed to a swarm on the field, chances are they've got an Honest in their hand and they've got a few Necro Gardeners in the graveyard. But the flaw to that, if the graveyard is removed from play, they can't send Honest to the graveyard to boost a Light Sworn's effect, nor can they get Necro Gardener back. That's why you must destroy the graveyard and decimate it, because our strategies now rely too much on the graveyard. Now, I ran a macro deck earlier this week and I had some success with it because I put a ton of equipped spell cards in it, and your opponent, they're debilitated by it because the only spell trap card removal people have nowadays are Heavy Storm, MST Breaker, Solemn Judgment, Phoenix Windblast. But shame on them to be willing to give up half their life points to destroy an equip card. So you may want to consider playing a few equip cards in your strategy, because the effect is debilitating to your opponent and you got to do something to stop the graveyard. Another thing you do not want to do is net deck so much to the point where your opponent knows your cards. I've played all the deck strategies and I already know what you got face down, because you know how to play the deck and you know what hand they have. You know, it's just like poker. If you learn how to play poker and you recognize the card combinations, there are certain things you're going to recognize that your opponent is doing, and you're going to know that's what they're doing. For example, Dark Arm Teledad deck. First thing they do is search for Stratos, then Malicious. Okay? Light Sworn deck, Charger Light Brigade, Lumina, get Gareth. Just obvious patterns. And you got to watch them and learn the patterns so you know what they're doing. And one thing I want to touch bases on, the 3 leading websites for Yu-Gi-Oh! You better believe they have contracts with Upper Deck so they can keep getting free cards. You know, they're there promoting the company. They're not there to help you. And to beat the dragon, you got to understand how the duelists work and the mechanics of the deck. And once you learn how the mechanics of the deck work, then you can shut it down. Now here's a hint. I made a deck that cost less than $75 and it annoyed the hell out of my opponent. I had a guy scoop because I removed the graveyard from play. And I'm going to end this video. Start thinking, start using your head when you duel. If you recall the show earlier on, Yugi told the Rare Hunter, a well-balanced deck is prepared for anything. You guys have a good day. And there are some things you can learn about Yu-Gi-Oh! And your personality in life. Stop being a follower. Stop making the same deck everybody else makes. Don't be afraid to experiment off something you created. Be prepared to deal with the rejection, and it'll help you make you a better duelist, and make you a better person in life at how to be a leader and learning how your opponent thinks. You guys have a good day.